Operation Righteous Reclamation has entered its second stage. After sea forces
Choose where to join
have
your
secured
fellows
planet
in
Hellmar
righteous liberation.
as a forward operating base, we now move to O'Shane. O'Shane is a very special planet because it has 4 new factors which have never been encountered within Helldivers history. On my first take of this video, there were only 140,000 Helldivers here. But now, we have gathered nearly 180,000. And by the time the night's over, we might have 200,000 Super Destroyers. This is the greatest firepower the universe has ever seen. And it will be a wonder if this planet, if there's even still anything left to democratize. But we can make steps to make that happen. I will go over these 4 factors present only on this planet. I will go over the community's general reactions to it, and then I will give you a path forward so that we can cleanse these terrible clouds away and build a massive parking lot for FRVs and rigs. The first of these factors would be new enemy variants. There are subterranean
Greetings,
versions
Helldiver. The galactic rule
others.
awaits.
And this is an issue because when the charger is underground, it's more difficult to see and it cannot be damaged. So what that means is it gets to pick and choose where it fights the Helldivers. The next factor here would be new enemy types. There is these hit and run guys. There are these hit and run guys. And at first, I'd like to classify them simply as annoying. But if there are enough of them left unmolested for long enough, they create these terrible volleys. The bile spewers could only hope to move as rapidly and shoot such a proliferation. Next is the dragon roach, and the dragon roach is very fun to fight. I don't know quite how to describe it. It's just dangerous enough, just tough enough, just mobile enough, just different enough, but also similar that it feels like it is a Terminid. It does feel like a natural progression rather than just a concept. And you might even say that the Dragon Roach is simply a variation on the Bile Spewer. Through technicality, I would argue against that, but through technicality, I could also argue for it. And finally, there's the worm. I am not too sure what my worm policy
Welcome
is.
aboard, Helldiver. The Super Destroyer is yours.
I don't know exactly what my worm policy is. I'm not sure whether to just let it linger and deal with the consequences. But I do know this. After seeing this worm in action, it shows me that giant enemies, giant bosses in other games simply have their hands tied behind their backs. And the thing about this worm is it doesn't have hands to tie, so it's nearly perfect. In other games, if you saw an enemy this big, what it would do is it would reach down and take a bite and then reset and then do the whole ponderous process yet again. This one has attack patterns, but I feel like the worm's actually trying to kill me. The first and most horrifying is the belly flop, which it could just smack the ground, but instead it does the rings. It starts wriggling around, and if you are not initially concussed, you will be turned to paste by the worm. Supposedly, it either has 100 or 10 times the health of the Leviathan. So those are the first 2 factors: enemy variants, enemy types. The third factor here would be the vehicle, which is called a gator. Not sure how I feel about the name. I'm probably gonna call it the rig. The Gator is cool. It is cool. I was afraid that it wouldn't feel Helldiversy, and that's really my fear with the tank and the APC. And some weapons and stratagems feel like they were made for Helldivers, and some feel like they're made for the sea forces. That's really how I interpret it. The gamer chair definitely feels like it's a Siege weapon. It doesn't feel like it feels like it's beneath a Helldiver to shoot. I'll say that. It just, the pacing and movement in terms of gameplay feels completely disjointed there. In fact, I'll say that these 4 factors here converging on Oshun, it really does feel like just 4 ideas thrown together into one. And there isn't a whole lot of symmetry or even really a similar theme here in general. However, that's how I know Helldivers is a good game. That's how I know this is cutting edge shit, because it's not polished. It doesn't have the sparkle and gleam of those yearly release titles, which are released completely on the basis of sparkle and gleam. I am treated so well to all this new content, all this new, varied, and authentic content. But at the end of the day, I will say, it doesn't seem like one package. It seems like 4 packages on one planet, which is fine. But it comes with an individual analysis of each, which is a separate process than trying to make generalizations. So we've got types, variants, and now vehicles and missions. The rig is really cool. I like the way it handles. It feels like a Helldiversy kind of a thing. It feels more Helldiversy than the gamer chair, is what I'm gonna say. When I was driving it the first time, I noticed there was a gun in the mantle behind the cockpit, and I said, I think that there's a turret on this thing. I don't know yet. I'm driving it. Can somebody try to get in the gun and start shooting? And they did, and that moment worked, and it was fantastic. It was so cool that I had the faith in my own intuition and in the dev's game design that it just translated so well in that moment. So that was like a big aha moment. It was a moment of discovery. I didn't need some stupid YouTube video to tell me how to have fun. That was the best part. And ultimately, even if it didn't have that turret, the coolest thing about the rig is when the Helldiver enters, he enters from the side of the cab. But when he exits, he gets out the top hatch, which means he can stand on top of the rig. I don't know if he can stay up there while it's moving, but it creates such an awesome platform. There's probably some incredible potential there with having the whole team on there or something. I don't know yet. I don't know yet. But it's just really interesting that him getting in goes from ground floor to cockpit, and then him getting out goes from cockpit to roof, instead of it just being a reverse of that. And that, to me, that asymmetry is what makes Helldivers gear Helldiversy. So the rig is a big hit, in my opinion. It's a smash hit. I like the way it handles. I like the way that it's invulnerable. Okay, the wheels can get damaged, but I didn't feel like it made a significant difference in the vehicle's handling. I really didn't. It felt like I went from going forward to going forward slightly less quickly. Okay. The next factor here are the missions. So the rig has to be driven to specific locations for a stratagem to be implemented. This is actually a pretty straightforward, dare I say, fun kind of thing to do. Usually it's going to drive you right into a nest. It's a mix between clearing a nest and planting the flag, but it's just less arduous. So it's a fun mission with a fun vehicle, and that's the whole gimmick. Okay. The next one are the subterranean missions. All right. The subterranean missions The most notorious of them is destroy the hive lung. And the hive lung is not super easy to find, okay? The Terminids place their hive lungs within spirals, like spiral caves. So there's gonna be a system where you have to keep turning, and then you have to make another turn into the cave. And that's where the hive lung is. It looks just about as big as maybe 1 or 2 helldivers if they were sucked into a cocoon on the ceiling. It's smaller than this circle on the ceiling. It's about as big as that, like, well, whatever. I'm not gonna try to describe which circle's which, but it's smaller than.
Ready for another mission, Helldiver?
The thing with the cave missions is they're not actually underground. It's really more like they're ground level, and then there's a raised plateau above them. So it's really more like ground missions with a roof is what I'll say. You're gonna see a lot of exosuits down there, which is great. I love to see exosuits having some presence. They are the most. They are capable of the most destruction in the game. But also, different backpacks. Backpacks are really important down there. I see the supply pack used, and that's not a bad idea. I think having 2 guys with a supply pack is a bad idea. One guy is probably the best, and if his intention is to share, then I think it'll shine here more than anywhere else. However, I will say that, like, it's not entirely necessary because there are rents in the ceiling. There are holes in the ceiling. So supplies and stratagems can be called in at regular intervals. By the time you're ready for the supplies, there will be an opportunity for the supplies. That's what I'm saying. The next one is pretty straightforward. The portable hell bomb. It's a great stratagem to have. It's good for objectives, but also if you're being overrun, you can activate it and walk into the horde and clear them out. This is necessary because sometimes there are, like, almost boss arenas with multiple impalers ready, and somehow the impalers are more terrifying underground. I think it's because you can't run away from the tentacles. So the portable hell bomb, fantastic. Supply pack, pretty good. Last one, I think that it's also going to be somewhere in between fantastic and pretty good, is the hover pack. The hover pack just negates the subterranean variants of enemies, but also the treacherous terrain. So I think that there's going to be a hover pack renaissance down there as well. My advice for players enter Oshun.
The hour of our next victory rapidly approaches. Let us cleanse the galaxy of alien scum.
First, I would recommend going with a friend. I really would. I think that in general, this planet is so challenging that it requires teamwork. It requires teamwork, and for the most part, the most pervasive sort of mentality I've seen propagated on the YouTube channels, and also even really just with helldivers I get match made with, is this idea of 4 one-man armies. I don't like that idea at all. The idea is like, well, if we do this on solo, if I can do this on solo, I should just bring the solo helldiver. I should bring 4 solo helldivers together, but this planet doesn't allow for that. It really doesn't. You've got to work as a team, and that requires constant communication, okay? This probably is the best planet ever, but it really does show the flaws within the mentality of the veteran helldiver. I cannot make a generalization about 180,000 players, but what I can say is, in general, it seems like the vets to me are automatons. They fought them for so long that they just got stuck in these routines. They just got stuck within these routines of efficiency, alright? And there will be new routines of efficiency born here of Oshun, I guarantee that. But these routines of efficiency can come from exploration and discovery. It doesn't have to come from some YouTuber squealing online about what the next S tier set is. And that's really what has me thinking that a lot of our veteran helldivers really just play on terms of memorization. They just do what worked for the 100th time. And I mean, if you don't get bored of that, I think there's something wrong with you. You should be bored of that. And I think many of them are. Many of them are. And unfortunately, there really is no other game that has the aesthetics of helldivers. There's really nothing else like this at the moment. I guess unless you want to count Deep Rock Galactic, I guess. But that really just doesn't have the fun propaganda and themes there. Not quite as much. Yeah, I'm not pleased with the vets, and I guess what I will say is Oshun is a great equalizer. I cannot tell if a person is level 20, level 40, or level 150 here, unless I hit the start button to see what they encounter and the way they encounter it. It's really just like they're afraid. They're just afraid and confused. And what this translates to is things like them not shooting their weapons. There's guys that won't shoot for whatever reason. You're being attacked, you're being chased, you're being hounded down, and they'll be there. They're just be idle. So there's like idleness. And this is also with movement too. They won't shoot and they won't move. They'll be attracted to these places on the map. They'll just be attracted and drawn to either objectives that are just insane to tackle, or to areas on the map of no strategic significance at all. It's like they get trapped. Kiting the bugs is one of the most important tactics, and ultimately they don't do it because they don't move and they don't shoot, and that's the two constituent components of a kite maneuver. The bugs the bugs have to be outmaneuvered or they'll eat you, and that's really it. So that it comes down to constantly moving, constantly shooting. Reinforcements are an issue here. Reinforcements for me in general have kind of been an issue. I think there's just a lot going on for certain players to keep track of who's alive and who's not. For me though, in a 4-man team, like if we lose one guy, that means we've lost a quarter of our firepower. Or more importantly, it means that now the chances of me drawing the aggro are also huge. I find that I'm waiting much longer to be reinforced. When I ask for reinforcement, people seem like it's just the most difficult, arduous burden. When they are usually idle, like I said, not shooting, not moving. They're gonna be in an exosuit or something, doing some shit like trying to fire each autocannon one round at a time. The Helldivers here lose their edge, and this is the place to get it. This is the place to become scarier, faster, and deadlier. And I don't see that happening at all. This planet has crushed the spirits of many and divided them. So I would always recommend going with a friend if possible. Because playing with the randoms is kind of a drag, and I really hate using that word because they're supposed to be fellow helldivers. Fellow helldivers. They're supposed to be fellow helldivers. But it seems like I'm just being forced into this nightmare with others. It seems like I'm just sharing a nightmare with others instead of us trying to live the dream. The next factor I would say in terms of success, which you'd want to take into account, is are the missions above ground or below ground? So based on this topographical information, it seems like these ones are a mix of sorts. Usually those rocky crags denote underground missions, but it could also be above ground. For above ground missions, you really just want to bring as much devastating firepower as you can muster. I can't really describe that in a way that's different than just already bringing a big, terrifying loadout. Exosuits are great to have.
Announcement system test. Freedom. Democracy. Liberty. Independence. Manage democracy. Test complete.
Exosuits are good for taking down the dragons, and it's hella fun to fight the dragons with an exosuit because it combines maneuverability and firepower, and it really does feel like a back and forth battle. I can't really say what else to bring other than stuff that really goes boom and makes a big, like, there's just so many bugs. There's dragons, there's worms, but there's also just so many freaking bugs to kill. Okay, so that's it on the above ground missions, is you want to bring a destructive arsenal, whereas in the below ground missions, you want to bring a more persistent arsenal. Yeah, this is the high lung one. So you want to bring something that lasts or something that can stick with you for as long as possible. Also, exosuits are great here too. No matter what, bring the exosuits. But the Hell Bomb is just less useful above ground. Is really the big difference between these two loadouts for me. And that's really about it. There are 4 factors
Your
here.
fellow helldivers rage against the enemy's
enemy type, enemy variant, vehicle, and then missions. In general, I do not think that the community is prepared for this. I think that they've just been memorizing YouTube videos for the last year and a half, and so it's really great to see the Helldivers shaken, because there's a lot that say Super Helldive is too easy. It's really great that there's an added challenge, but I don't feel like I'm a team rising to that challenge when I go on matchmaking. But the easy fix here is playing with friends, which is possible and recommended.